that got to do with Kendrick?
Well, I'm not saying it
Got
has
shot
anything to
where?
do.
In Canada?
What started as a rap beef just took a sinister turn. Kendrick Lamar reportedly survived a murder attempt, and all signs are now pointing straight at Drake. There's even word of a federal investigation heating up, and if it goes south, Drake could be looking at serious time. And the collapse of everything he built. Let's dive into how things spiraled out of control. This beef ain't new. It's been simmering for over 10 years. But when it finally blew up, it didn't just shake the rap game, it straight up blew the roof off. The first big spark came when J. Cole tried to play peacemaker, calling himself, Drake, and Kendrick the big three on Drake's first-person shooter. But Kendrick, he wasn't having it. That whole sharing the crown thing, he shut it down hard. When he came swinging on Future and Metro Boomin's track in March 2024, he snapped with, "Mother for the big three, it's just big me." That wasn't just shade, that was a full declaration of war on everything Drake stands for. Drake fired back with push-ups, and then a wild freestyle using AI versions of Tupac and Snoop Dogg, a move that stirred major controversy. But nobody saw what Kendrick had in store next. He came back on April 30th with Euphoria, a cold-blooded 6-minute lyrical hit job produced by Soundwave and Jack Antonoff. Kendrick shredded Drake's image, calling out his fatherhood-style use of the N-word and his fake personality. Real ones knew, though, that was just round one. Kendrick called Drake a master manipulator and a habitual liar, even tying his shots to Drake's involvement with the HBO show Euphoria. The bars were personal and cut deep, and Kendrick was just getting warmed up.
What I like was he was speaking on people writing for Drake. Beam is a producer and a songwriter. He also called out Drake for using AI diss to diss him in the tailor-made freestyle.
A few days later, he dropped 616 in LA, and this one was straight up surgical. Kendrick said Drake's own OVO crew was snitching on him, feeding him secrets. And the title? A direct jab at Drake's timestamp song style, flexing that he could do it better than the originator himself.
He dropped 616 right after Euphoria. We weren't expecting that just because of the way Kendrick puts out music. We wasn't expecting a back-to-back.
Right.
Then Drake comes with Family Matters, which I think is phenomenal.
But on May 3rd, 2024, things took a violent turn. That night showed the world just how far these two lyrical assassins were willing to go to prove who really runs this game. Drake clapped back with Family Matters, an 8-minute video attack that accused Kendrick of putting hands on Whitney Alford and cheating on her. Drake didn't stop there. He even hinted that one of Kendrick's kids wasn't his, claiming Dave Free, Kendrick's longtime partner, might be the real father.
No less than 30 minutes. Kendrick stepped on that record with his own record about Drake's family, Meet the Grams. Then Kendrick turned around and did what we was waiting on Drake to do, and that's give us a diss bop.
But Kendrick was ready for war. Just 20 minutes later, he dropped Meet the Grams, and this one, it was vicious. He wasn't just talking to Drake, he was calling out Drake's whole family. His mom, dad, son Adonis, and even a daughter who may not even exist. He told them flat out their son was a fraud, and worse.
When I heard Kendrick, the Meet the Grams record, when he started writing letters to his mom, his dad, and his kids, I said, we got to fight now. We got to fight.
Yo, he literally says to his mom on the record, your son should die.
The cover art, a glove calling back to the O.J. Simpson trial. And the title? A play on Drake's real name, Aubrey Graham. This wasn't just beef, this was psychological warfare, but Kendrick wasn't done. The next day, May 4th, he dropped The Nuke. Not Like Us, produced by DJ Mustard. And that track, it was more than just a diss. It was a movement.
Somebody said that, they said this on Joe Budden's podcast. When HBCUs start playing it at fucking homecomings and shit,
exactly.
It's imbued in our psyche.
Kendrick called Drake a culture thief and a poser, accusing him of stealing from black culture and painting him as a predator. The cover art showed Drake's mansion in Toronto with red dots, just like Offender Maps. And the video? Kendrick smashing an owl piñata, clowning Drake's OVO label. The disrespect was next level. Not Like Us had that West Coast bounce that made it an instant anthem. It dropped with over 21 million streams in 3 days, shot to #1, and eventually crossed 1 billion plays. But it did more than break records. It united the West Coast and turned the entire culture against Drake. Drake tried to respond on May 5th with The Heart Part 6, saying Kendrick's accusations were lies and that he planted fake info about a daughter to bait Kendrick.
And it's not gonna take me almost 2 days to reply to Meet the Grams and Not Like Us.
Maybe not. I think you're giving Kendrick benefit of the doubt because you're a light-skinned hater.
He even said, if it were true, I'd be locked up by now. But the damage was already done. Fans weren't buying it. Drake sounded exhausted, like he was trying to keep up but losing steam. By that point, the streets had already chosen sides. And it wasn't the guy from Toronto. But here's where it gets terrifying. The energy in Not Like Us and all that violent imagery. It wasn't just lyrics anymore, it bled into real life. Because the very next day, real shooters pulled up to Drake's mansion. And everything changed. Just 3 days after Not Like Us dropped, on May 7th, 2024, things went from diss tracks to gunshots. Real shooters pulled up to Drake's mansion in Toronto and let off rounds. This wasn't no publicity stunt. This was a straight-up drive-by, and somebody almost lost their life. Court documents later revealed the chilling details. In the dead of night, armed gunmen rolled up to 21 Park Lane Circle. They shouted, "Drake!" and then opened fire. One bullet hit the front door and another struck a security guard, putting him down bad. Drake's team had to fight to keep the man alive for over 30 minutes, using towels to stop the bleeding while blood was pouring everywhere. This was real, life or death, and it showed just how deadly rap beef can get once it spills off wax. But it didn't stop there.
I think it was Sluggo who told me that one of them, I think it must have been Drake who was talking about his, he dissed him by talking about his size 7 feet or something, right? And that's fine. I think it's great. If everybody would just like, if the Israelis and Hamas would go after each other in song.
Battle raps.
Yeah, battle raps.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
That's how they should do it.
The next day, someone tried to dig under Drake's security fence like they were breaking into a vault. When security caught him, the guy was yelling racist slurs and threatening Drake before being escorted off the property. And on May 9th, yet another trespasser rolled up and got into a full-on fist fight with security. He ended up in cuffs in the hospital. Police tried to play it cool, saying they couldn't confirm if these events were linked to the beef. But come on now. Kendrick drops a song calling Drake a predator, shows his mansion with red dots like he's on some kind of list, and days later, shooters and wild intruders are showing up. That's way too convenient to ignore. These back-to-back incidents marked a dangerous moment, one where the hip-hop world had to stop and ask, how far is too far? When does competition turn into chaos, meanwhile? As Drake was dodging bullets and crazy stalkers, Kendrick was out here on a victory lap, flexing all the momentum from the beef like he just won a championship. On June 19, 2024, he threw the pop-out concert at the CAA Forum in Inglewood, and it was nothing short of a full-blown West Coast celebration. He performed Not Like Us 5 times in a row, bringing out legends like Dr. Dre and YG, making it clear. The West had his back 100%. This wasn't just a concert, it was a statement.
I remember right after that interview, I'd never heard of him before. They had a mixtape that was just kind of buzzing in Atlanta. Birthday bash happened a couple days later. They ran into Drake. Drake had heard the mixtape. He jumped on Versace, and the Migos took off and never looked back.
Kendrick wasn't just standing tall. He was showing the whole world that he owned this moment. And the biggest shock? Artists who Drake helped rise, people he co-signed, gave features to, and put money in their pockets were now riding with Kendrick. No loyalty, no hesitation. The message? When the culture picked a side, it didn't pick the sixth god. It crowned K-Dot, and Kendrick wasn't done making history.
You would think. Now, granted, they don't have to.
Let me ask you, do you think Drake needed help?
It's not that he needed help.
He didn't need no help.
It's not that he needed help, but like everyone's doing a victory lap with Kendrick, whereas all the people, and none of the people that were there with Kendrick, did Kendrick transform their lives by doing features for them for free and totally transform their career.
Stop.
His diss anthem, Not Like Us, went on to smash the 2025 Grammy Awards on February 2nd. It snatched up 5 trophies, including Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Rap Song, Best Rap Performance, and Best Music Video. No diss track had ever hit like that in the mainstream, but the real flex came just a week later, February 9th, 2025, during the Super Bowl 59 halftime show in New Orleans. With 133.5 million people watching, Kendrick hit the stage and performed Not Like Us in front of the whole planet. And who did he bring out to dance? None other than Serena Williams, who once had a thing with Drake. That was straight up disrespect on a global stage. Kendrick basically told the whole world, I won. Drake's finished. But while Kendrick was celebrating, doing victory dances in front of millions, Drake was quietly plotting. And what he had cooking was about to shake the industry to its core, legal warfare. On January 15th, Drake launched something that could change the game forever, and it might just make record labels rethink how they deal with artist beef from now on. In 2025, Drake dropped a bombshell. He filed an 81-page federal lawsuit against Universal Music Group. UMG, the label that reps both him and Kendrick Lamar. Drake wasn't just mad at Kendrick, he was coming for the whole machine. The lawsuit claimed UMG knowingly pushed Not Like Us, despite knowing it was packed with what he called false and malicious lies about him being a predator and trafficker.
When you start playing with certain people, we're witnessing this as we speak. When you start puffing on the wrong cigar, smoke will come. We watch old Puff Daddy play with the wrong people, right? And we watch something get exaggerated to a point to where what people chose to do is now a federal case.
According to Drake's legal team, UMG didn't just promote the track, they helped fuel the chaos. They pointed fingers at the May 7th, 2024 shooting outside Drake's Toronto mansion, where his security guard was seriously injured, and at the 2 other trespassing incidents that followed. Drake's side argued that UMG's actions directly led to real-world violence and nonstop harassment. But the wildest part of the lawsuit, Drake basically said that Not Like Us wasn't just a diss, it was a weapon. A track designed to incite violence and stir up people to come after him.
So yeah, top 5 in the is a street presser bun. Fuck Drake, he got real over there. Top, he got real over there. But them ain't saying what they gonna do or whatever.
He accused UMG of using bots, payola, and shady promo tactics to push Kendrick's track to the top, even though it was calling him out as a criminal. Buried deep in that legal stack was a dangerous accusation. Drake said this whole rollout sparked what he believes was an attempted hit on his life. He pointed to the cover art for Not Like Us, the one that showed his actual Toronto mansion marked up with red pens that looked like offender registry labels. According to the suit, that imagery was designed to stir up the streets and invite vigilantes to come serve what they thought was justice. Now, even though the lawsuit didn't go directly at Kendrick, it was clear what was really being said. Drake's lawyers put the focus on UMG's corporate greed, accusing the label of using bots, buying airplay, and chasing clout while ignoring the potential danger of what they were putting out into the world. They said UMG helped light the match by promoting a track with reckless imagery and defamatory claims, and that this directly led to the May 7th shooting. And then things escalated further. In February 2025, Drake's team updated the complaint, adding Kendrick's Grammy sweep and his Super Bowl performance into the mix. They argued that UMG didn't just promote the song, they turned it into a global spectacle, using award shows and the biggest stage in the world to boost the impact of those dangerous allegations. Drake's legal squad claimed Kendrick's Super Bowl moment, watched by over 133 million people, cemented the narrative that Drake was guilty, turning public perception into a serious threat to his safety.
Man,
Kendrick's not
dude
showing
ain't
up for
nobody, bro. Dude is nobody. Dude, come on, we watched this same dude get mushed in the...
But UMG fired back hard, denying every charge. They clapped back in March 2025, trying to get the whole lawsuit tossed. Their argument? Drake jumped into the battle willingly, and now he was just throwing legal shade to clean up after getting embarrassed in front of the whole culture. They said they were simply doing their job, promoting Kendrick's music, riding the wave of public interest, and making money like every other label does. But even industry insiders had to pause, because if Drake actually won this case, it could flip the music business upside down. It would mean record labels might get held legally responsible for promoting diss tracks that cross the line into serious, possibly criminal allegations. The entire nature of rap beef could shift overnight. Labels might stop pushing the drama or get way more careful about what they back. The lawsuit sparked major debate in the culture. Some fans praised it all as the return of raw, no-holds-barred hip-hop, while others warned this was a dangerous game and the consequences were becoming too real. And on top of all that, social media had the streets on fire. People were labeling Drake's mansion on Google Maps with jokes like "owned by Kendrick," using lyrics from the track. The viral power of Not Like Us meant that Kendrick's words were spreading to millions within hours, and the streets were still reacting even while the court battle raged on. The beef had left the booth room and now the whole world was watching. Toronto rapper Top 5, who's rumored to have ties to Drake, took things to a dangerous level, publicly threatening Kendrick Lamar in an interview, saying flat out he'd shoot Kendrick if he stepped foot in Toronto. This wasn't no idle talk either. This was on camera, and the streets heard it loud and clear. And then Kendrick and TDE announced their tour with a stop in Toronto on June 12th, right in the Rogers Center, Drake's backyard. That tour date wasn't just a show. It was Kendrick looking the whole city in the face and saying, "I ain't scared of you or your people." He made it crystal clear. He'll perform wherever he wants, no matter who feels some type of way.
Well, that's Drake's hometown. How do you think this is gonna go down?
Well, it's obvious. At least we can say, well, at least Drake ain't in control of Toronto because he ain't stopping that show.
Right now, the wildest questions surrounding this unprecedented beef still don't have answers.
What that got to do with Kendrick?
Well, I'm not saying it
Got
has
shot
anything
where?
to do
In Canada?
In Canada, yeah.
So you really believe
It has
Kendrick?
nothing to do with Kendrick.
The May 7th shooting is still under investigation. Nobody's been arrested, and while the timing and the Drake shout during the attack suggest a clear link to the beef, there's no direct proof that Kendrick or anything in his music led to it. The streets might believe it, but the courts haven't seen enough to make a move. Meanwhile, Drake's lawsuit against Universal Music Group is still crawling through the legal system. UMG's motion to dismiss is still pending, and depending on how it plays out, this case could change the music industry forever. Labels could be forced to take the heat if their artists drop tracks that spark real-world violence, even if it's all under the guise of artistic expression. But no matter how the court...
That's what I think it really was.
And I'm saying that outside of the creative Kendrick rap battle. Actually, let's not even go any further without just giving a round of applause to both.
Battle ends, this beef has already carved a permanent scar into hip-hop culture. It's being compared to Tupac versus Biggie and Jay-Z versus Nas, but this thing goes way beyond the mic. The stakes here are life, death, freedom, and the entire structure of the music biz. This whole saga showed how powerful and dangerous modern rap beefs have become. What used to stay on wax now spreads like wildfire thanks to streaming platforms, viral social media clips, and global distribution. One diss track can trigger a chain reaction, from internet memes to real bullets flying. To really understand how two legends went from collaborators to enemies, you gotta rewind. This war didn't start in 2024. It started over a decade ago with a bond that looked solid, but started cracking early. Back in 2011, Drake was already raking in millions off his hits, and Kendrick was the hungry new voice out of Compton, fighting to make it out the mud. But it wasn't beef then. They were showing each other love.
You know, he said, I heard it talking to barbershop all the time.
Kendrick showed up on Drake's Take Care album with that fire verse on the Buried Alive interlude, where he spit truth about meeting Drake and the weird dynamics between fame, power, and come-ups. They kept that vibe going. Kendrick linked with Drake again on Poetic Justice, and they both hopped on A$AP Rocky's 2012 banger, Kin Problems. That same year, Kendrick even opened for Drake on the Club Paradise tour. That's how close they were. They were brothers in the game. But anybody who's lived this know friendships in the industry flip quick. When egos get big and the throne's up for grabs, loyalty gets murky.
Who's the greatest, me, Jigga, or Nas, or something like that. You know, and then he mentions Eminem, Andre 3000, and he says, the rest of y'all are just new dudes. Just don't even get involved in this. And he never really respected his peers.
And in a world where one verse can ruin a legacy, things can turn deadly real fast. Drake and Kendrick were day ones, but somewhere between the Grammys and the gossip, they turned into deadly rivals. The warning signs were there, but nobody knew it'd blow up like this. Looking back at those early days when Drake and Kendrick were actually rocking together on tracks, it's crazy to believe they'd end up accusing each other of wild crimes and getting caught up in street-level violence. But if you look close, the seeds of this war were already there, even while they were still dapping each other up. The first major crack in their so-called brotherhood came in August 2013 when Kendrick dropped that now legendary verse on Big Sean's Control. That verse wasn't just a friendly guest feature, it was a shot across the whole rap game. Kendrick called out Drake by name along with a list of other heavyweights, saying he was out to murder them lyrically. But the disrespect didn't stop there. Kendrick had the nerve to call himself the King of New York. Even though he's from Compton, that was a serious flex, and it rubbed a lot of folks the wrong way. Kendrick was basically declaring himself the top dog, no matter where you're from. Drake's response?
I'm gonna be honest with you, disrespectfully, let people know. You know the funny thing is, and I've been realizing about Kendrick. Kendrick is he's lacked the level of respect or even handle these guys like with any type of decorum. I mean, he's been doing it since Control.
He tried to play it cool in a Billboard interview, saying Kendrick wasn't really a threat and calling the verse ambitious.
That's what Drake said on the radio, right? So Drake was like, yeah, I ran into the guy. He's like, it's not that serious. A couple other people respond. He don't respond to them. So I'm like, all right, he's making a moment.
But let's be real. Anyone with street sense could see Drake was tight about it. That passive tone, that was just a mask. Then Kendrick doubled down later that year during the 2013 BET Hip Hop Awards cypher, where he spit, "Nothing's been the same since they dropped Control," and tucked a sensitive rapper back in his pajama clothes. That was a clear jab at Drake's album, Nothing Was the Same. No subliminals there. From that moment, the tension was in the air. But instead of going full on, they kept it low-key for years, trading subliminal shots instead of going direct.
J. Cole's been the one trying to like walk in the middle, the little brother, so to speak, the middle child, trying to keep his hands around the two other brothers that really want to go at it. And he's been saying this big three this whole time. Yo, it's big three, it's us, it's us, it's us. Like Kendrick never looked at the whole time was like, who's us?
Drake would sneak his shade into tracks like The Language, while Kendrick took swipes on songs like King Kunta from To Pimp a Butterfly. Through most of the 2000s, 10s, they were keeping the beef under wraps, but don't get it twisted. The smoke never stopped building. Drake, on the other hand, had his hands full beefing with other artists. In 2015, Meek Mill accused him of using ghostwriters, lighting up one of the biggest rap scandals in recent memory. Then in 2018, Drake went head-to-head with Pusha T. And that beef, that was a whole different level. When Pusha dropped The Story of Adidon and revealed Drake's secret son Adonis to the world, it exposed personal business like never before. That track made it clear, nothing is off limits when it comes to rap warfare. And Kendrick? He was in the shadows taking notes, watching how Drake handled heat, learning where he slipped and stacking ammo for the day he'd go to war himself. Anybody deep in the culture could feel it building. A collision was coming between two of the sharpest pens in hip-hop. Then, in October 2023, the spark finally hit the fuse. Drake and J. Cole dropped First Person Shooter on Drake's For All the Dogs album. Cole was trying to be the voice of peace, talking about him, Drake, and Kendrick as the big three, like they were running the game as one unit. But Kendrick wasn't going for that kumbaya talk. He saw it as a power move to share a crown he never agreed to split. That's when the beef jumped from subtle to savage. In March 2024, Kendrick unloaded on Future and Metro Boomin's track Like That, delivering that now infamous line, "Mother for the big three, it's just big me."
You know what's crazy? When Like That dropped, I'm like, yo, what is this guy doing? He's not like that.
Yeah.
By the end of the battle, I was like, God damn it, why didn't y'all tell me he was like that? This guy, he's pretty good, man.
No filter, no subliminal, all smoke, that verse lit the fire, and the rest is hip-hop history in the making. This wasn't just Kendrick brushing off J. Cole's peace offering. Nah, this was him sending a loud message to Drake, Cole, and the entire game. I'm the king. Y'all just playing pretend. And to make it even louder, Kendrick threw in that bold comparison, himself as Prince and Drake as Michael Jackson. He was basically saying, yeah, Drake might have the flashy numbers, but I've got the real artistry. I'm timeless. He's temporary. The moment that track dropped, straight to #1, it didn't just land. It sat there for 3 weeks, letting everyone know that this wasn't just another rap squabble, this was war. What followed would turn lyrical shots into actual gunfire and shift the culture in ways no one saw coming. J. Cole tried to jump into the ring with his 7-minute drill, throwing jabs at Kendrick's discography. But that didn't last long. He pulled back quick, even calling the diss a misstep during his Dreamville Festival performance. Just like that, he bowed out and left Drake to stand alone, staring down the barrel of one of the most dangerous pens in rap history. But Drake, he didn't flinch. He came swinging with push-ups and Drop and Give Me 50 on April 13th, 2024, clowning Kendrick's height, his pop features, and even his place in the culture. Then he followed up with a wild AI-generated freestyle on April 19th, using fake Tupac and Snoop Dogg voices to diss Kendrick. That was next-level disrespect, and it shook the internet. But even after all that, nobody was ready for what Kendrick had up his sleeve. The Compton King wasn't just here to battle. He was out to end Drake's reign. Period. He wanted to tear down everything Drake had built, brick by brick, and leave his legacy in ruins. Looking back now, the signs were all there. Kendrick had been strategically building his attack, questioning Drake's authenticity at every turn. The culture slowly began to shift. More and more artists, fans, and voices in the game started rallying behind Kendrick. And while his support grew, Drake's circle got smaller. He was looking more isolated than ever. This wasn't just rap beef anymore. It was something the game had never witnessed before. A total cultural war between two giants, and the outcome still ain't clear. The legal drama is still playing out. The streets are still buzzing, and fans everywhere are holding their breath, waiting to see how this all ends. Because whatever happens next, it's gonna leave a mark on hip-hop forever. If you rocked with this deep dive, make sure you like, comment, share, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next chapter in this wild saga. Tap one of the videos on the screen right now for more content just like this, and I'll see you in the next one.